DZ on them heat rocks.
Hey, what's good, y'all? This your boy DZ representing Heat Rocks Productions. Coming at you right now from my home studio here in Austin, Texas. Shout out to everybody watching the vid. I'll be looking forward to getting your comments and your feedback. I've been producing for 10 years now, but this is the first video that I've ever made. So if I don't clearly address any issues or questions that you have in the regards of how I like to do things, or in terms of routing within Pro Tools, whatever it may be, feel free to give me a shout. I can also be contacted by my production email, which is heatrockzprod@yahoo.com. We're gonna get right into this vid, so I hope you guys enjoy. Let's get right to it. Alright, so as you see here, we have Pro Tools 8 opened up. This is the heartbeat to my production. I do everything in Pro Tools right up to the mastering, where I would then use Wavelabs. So the first thing that you want to do is create a click track, which is right here. You then would need to choose a sound source for the click, where I always choose Cowbell 2 because it's very distinct for tracking. So after you've created the instance of your click track, which is this blue track right here that I have, this little window would pop up. Right below preset is where you have your different sound sources. So after you've created your click track, you would then want to find a tempo for the beat, which in this case is 120 BPM. So up here we have this green bar at the very top in your timeline. You see it says 120 right now. That's the session tempo. And right next to it, to the left, is a red triangle. So you would double click on that, use your letter T key, and I don't know if you guys can see it, but on the screen right now it's changing the BPM to what I'm tapping out. But in this case, again, since the track's already been created, we're just going to keep it at what it is, which is the 120 BPM. So I'm just going to hit cancel. After that would be set up, I would then start rummaging through my drum library to find the right samples for the mood of the track I'm wanting to convey. So I've created these multiple mono instrument tracks here that you see in the red. Each of these channels are routed to different channels corresponding to my drum pads and Native Instruments battery, which is this stereo aux track right here, this green one. Just selected it. So each drum pad is routed to a specific note on my MIDI controller, being the M-Audio Axiom 25. So the drum map, the samples corresponding to my various notes on my MIDI controller, you would simply record enable your instrument track. So we have this kick one right here. I would record enable that, select my specific drum pad within battery, go to cell. Right next to the name of the sample it says key range. I would hit learn. You see it just turned yellow, and I would simply while my track is record enabled, I would just hit the specific note that I want it to be routed to. So anytime I hit that note, it'll play that specific sample, whatever drum pad this is. So again, since this track's already been created, I'm just going to unclick learn, and for this particular hi-hat sample that you see it highlighted right here, it's G1. Each of these different boxes are different drum pads. Each drum pad can be routed to the same instrument track, or it can be routed to separate ones. By doing so, you would simply go down while you're located in the cell tab. You go down to here where it says CH, standing for channel, and you would select your given channel, and then you end up routing it within Pro Tools here itself in these given instrument tabs and these I/O tabs. So after everything would be routed, in terms of my drum mapping, what you would get is something that sounds like this. So now, as I said, each drum is routed to a separate track, which is key for leveling during my tracking process, recording to audio, and then mixing afterwards. So in any case, whether it's battery, Reason, Stylus Remix, etc., you need to have your instrument tracks routed in the instrument tab, which is what you see here for battery. Below here, these red tracks are all tracks that correspond to my drum pads within here. So each drum pad is routed to a different track, aside from my hi-hats, which I have all going to the same track since they're all similar sounds. So later on when I would mix, I apply the EQ on the audio track after it's been bounced down to audio, and it'll do the same processing to each thing since they're all similar sounds. So in the instrument tab right here, after you've created your instance of your given VST, which in this case again is battery, battery is now enabled in this instrument tab to be able to be routed. So since it's kick 1 and it's on the channel 1 for the first drum pad, I would select channel 1, go down the line for each of these different tracks, channel 2, channel 3, and so on. So I have my battery plug-in inserted on a stereo aux, and that being that the battery plug-in requires a minimum of 1 stereo output. The rest are set as mono for my actual percussion. This battery stereo aux is the one given instance of my stereo output that I'm required. What you see here, going back to the cell tab where it says channel, the very top one says master. Everything else are in mono. So this master is the stereo aux. No audio is actually coming out of that stereo aux because my drum sounds themselves are not actually routed to the stereo track. They're all actually routed to these separate monos. For battery and other VSTs though, you also have to route in the input of the I/O tab as you see here. So this is the I/O tab that my mouse is grazing over right now. If we go back here, again you go to these, each particular drum sound that I select is routed out to a different channel. These channels are what actually correspond to these outputs right here. For the instrument IOs, that's simply receiving your particular sample that you've selected. To actually hear it, you have to have the output engaged. Since kick 1 is channel 1, it's also going out of channel 3, since again the first 2 tracks are stereo, which correspond to this aux track right here. Again, since this track's already been created, everything's already laid out right here. So everything you're seeing are my various regions for each particular track. So if I was to double click on these, opens up the MIDI edit window, and there you can see my various notes that I inputted. So now that you've seen that, after I'd have my drum beat laid out, I would prefer to find an instrument that would be the basis for all other notation in the track. So in this record, I use Spectrasonics Omnisphere for 7 of the 8 instruments that are in this track. The main element that I just described in this case is a pad. So I'm going to solo this out here. This is what I came up with. That's like the main element that I was just describing. In this regards, since this track is very poppy, I wanted a dance synth bass. So if I go up to my bass track, which is this brown track right here, this is just the verse. Pre-chorus. Chorus. Alright, so now that you've heard the drums, a pad for the main element, and the bass, This is basically the meat and potatoes of the track, so now we just need those other ingredients to really give some flavor, being what I'm about to show you. So this is what I came up with. So lastly, now that you've heard all the different various sounds that I used in terms of Omnisphere, we have an arpeggio. This is actually Nexus 2. So now that you've heard all the various elements of the song, we can listen to everything combined in their respective placement. Alright y'all, hope you enjoyed watching this video. Again, this is your boy DZ representing Heat Rocks Productions. If you have any questions, again, hit me up. Leave me some feedback, whether you like the track. Subscribe to my page if you're watching this through YouTube. It's the Heat Rocks Productions channel. And we're going to keep on trying to make things happen. God bless.